Guest today, Adam, and I want you to introduce yourself. We couldn't get his video to work, but Adam, why don't you tell Connecticut and New Hampshire what you're all about?
Hi, New Englanders. My name's Adam LeCompte, and I'm a survivor of a severe traumatic brain injury, and I've had a rare savant-like recovery, which has allowed some things that have been rather fascinating that I'd like to share with the public.
Right, he's a victim of a brain injury, and he's found out through his travels that he believes his state, just like ours, makes victims of injury by, let's say, neglect in the hospitalization aspect, and then they use their court appearances, I would say, to steal all your assets, which I guess they think they've earned. And there's Tyrant Slayer Studios, my man. Hey, just tell the audience about your interview with Lamont yesterday.
Yeah, I did have a run-in with the governor of the state of Connecticut here yesterday. He was at I believe it's called the Boombox Parade. It's a traditional thing done out in the town of Willimantic for the 4th of July. He was in the parade with State Attorney General William Tong and Chris
Ooh,
Murphy.
boo.
Yeah, so arrogantly waving at everyone, as he laughs all the way to the bank. And basically, at the end of the event, I was off to Home Depot. I'm doing a big installation job, which is why I haven't been online much lately. But off to Home Depot using the airline bike trail, and there he was running with his wife and his bodyguard there, and
May I ask, did he give you that wicked haircut? I mean, scalping people is illegal.
In fact, if you cut your hair yourself, you could probably save close to $600 a year, depending on how often you get a cut. So we're trying to create as many savings as possible here in the racketeering socialist nanny state of Connecticut, as we are certainly being taxed to death. But I got Ned Lamont to stop and talk with me for a few minutes. I brought up the fact that Stamford PD, Danbury PD, Bridgeport PD, Vernon PD, Troop C, State Police, and even the New Haven FBI just refused to uphold our laws and enforce our laws. I mentioned some specific cases and cited some criminal violations of Connecticut general statutes, felony violations, and the best response I got from him was like a raised eyebrow, like, wow, you really give me something to think about here. He says, don't worry, we're going to put more police on the streets, and that ought to help everybody. And I said, well, it's not the number of police I'm concerned with, or law enforcement agencies. It's the conduct, the misconduct, rather, that has me awful concerned. They're not even following their own procedures and policies. And when Joe Johnny Citizen gets roped up in this big nightmare, there is no recourse. There is absolutely no recourse. I mentioned that, and then I moved on to the whistleblower that U.S. senatorial candidate Mr. John Flynn and I have been talking with for over a month now, just documenting and getting as much information as we can. A whistleblower from Whiting Forensic Hospital, located here in Middletown, Connecticut, has informed us that not only have they voluntarily done away with Medicare and Medicaid, leaving themselves with no way to bill for any of these medications and services or other services, they're basically ordering $250,000 worth of prescription drugs and leaving them in the hallway over the weekend for somebody from New Jersey to come pick up. And then we even touched on the abuse case where we have the conservative patients just getting smacked around or hit in the face with a big diaper full of fecal matter, things of that. He did make note that he's aware of that case. He had no idea what I was talking about when I mentioned the whistleblower, but I was, and I complained and said, hey, look, I tried calling you guys months ago, but I couldn't get past the call screener. He did take my number. He did take my contact information, and I am going to be following up with the governor's office this week to try to get him to sit down with us here on Tyrant Slayer Studios to talk about these very real and very serious problems, not just with law enforcement, but with Whiting Forensic, SEMA 4, which his wife has a heavy hand in.
Tobias Wasser.
A plethora of problems going on throughout Connecticut, from judicial misconduct to the theft of property and possessions. Not just
the whistleblower keeps talking about various laws that were broken due to or drugs being ordered on a thumb drive. There being 4 slush accounts they move the drugs around in, and that the doctor's getting credit for drugs returned paid for by Medicare and Medicaid.
Actually returned. The return slips are being forged.
They're being repackaged.
The COVID cards are forged and fraudulent. The PIXA system has been completely compromised.
Yeah.
And now you have nurses conducting the activities of pharmacists. And that is a very real problem over there. The taxpayers are hammered
right now. If I may, it's a matter of agencies are using the judicial system in connections with hospitals to get false medical information to manipulate judicial proceedings. And
Correct.
Following that, they target property and possessions and insurance settlements and bank accounts of mentally impaired citizens that can't defend themselves. So this is happening in New Hampshire, and it is targeting the same, where it's a matter of educated individuals using medical fraud to manipulate our court proceedings and fool the entire public.
Wow. And it appears that
very well said.
It appears that a lot of the state senators and even the state reps that are on the boards of these facilities,
that's right,
are, saying, "Gee, give me credit for all these things I've done. I've blown the whistle on this, that, and the other thing." But those institutions don't change their ways. Actually, it's just growing geometrically. And when the big pharma gets its checkbook out, which is the largest lobby group, you wonder why all this money is going to different senators, for example. And then it comes back to Annie Lamont riding her bus, writing the paychecks of these pharmacists out of SEMA 4. Hello, why is the governor's wife running the pension fund of the state and writing checks to pharmacists that can't track the drugs they're giving to the inmates who may no longer even be at the prison, and then giving them the repackaging of these drugs through family-owned connections like the Diamond family? Oh my God. Have you seen the Diamond family? Toby Wasser is Toby Diamond Wasser. That's his real name. Ann Diamond, though one's an attorney, the other one runs 7 hospitals, including Yale. And they just purchased 4 more for-profit hospitals, turning them into nonprofit hospitals. Why? So the profit they would have made that could be taxed is no longer income to the state. Go figure. Why are we buying for-profit hospitals and turning them into nonprofits? So they have no inclination to make a profit. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but
I think that's all partial fraud. I think that's where they use the administrative shuffle to just evade paying taxes as they're collecting taxes to care for people, quote unquote.
Like they care, as if they care. When in fact, 40 employees at Whiting got fired out of 200 for working patients over. One guy was tortured for years. They used to go in the middle of the night into his room, flip his mattress over while he was sleeping, and drop the mattress on top of him, then go get a mop from the toilet and mop his head. This guy got a $9 million settlement, okay, his family. And if you read, there's an article today from the Hartford Courant. That family wants to use the money to stop the mistreatment of patients. And that guy's name is Shahadi. His family's from Greenwich. They're wealthy anyway. But Mr. Shahadi, okay, I think he did 35 years for killing his father when he was 22. Okay, so he's elderly. But the fact remains, he was supposed to be out of jail years ago, but they won't let him go because he's a huge source of income. They're running it like their own profit center with total disregard. Now, keep in mind, 40 patients were injuring this guy on video right in the rooms, knowing everything was being recorded. So think about this. If the medical industry is recording the patients as they're being harmed, and everyone in the entire patient system is aware of it, and knowing it's being recorded, they know they won't be busted. This is the problem. Our whistleblower, all five, now we're five, that we've talked to. Adam, I consider you a medical fraud whistleblower, so you're number 6.
Excellent, thank you.
But think about this. They went to Attorney General Tong, who was at your bike-a-thon. Instead of protecting the whistleblower, he told her to get a new job. Excuse me? This is our Attorney General who kept suing Trump for open borders. He wants to close the border. Let's sue Trump. Like as if Connecticut had standing in a case about a Texas border that had a couple square feet of open fence. And meanwhile, Tong wants all this fentanyl to come in. Why? Why? Tell me why Tong wants illegal aliens crossing the border to get into Texas to be flown to Westchester County Airport, Tweed Airport in New Haven. That's where these people are ending up. Lamont knows. If you go to Walmart in Norwalk, you'll see them all. They're all shopping. So, by the way, I must say, the care that these people are getting at the Norwalk Community Center is fantastic. Unfortunately, when you walk in the door of this place, the line of pregnant Latino women is like 200 people long. They're getting prenatal care, which they need, which is wonderful. The majority of these ladies are Catholic. I have no problem with them from an ethics standpoint or religion or they're hardworking people. I feel sorry for them and I wish I could help them. But think about us destroying our own currency to help foreigners and not even help our own veterans. That's insanity. So writing checks you can't cash, that's where we're at. And the medical fraud issue, it being the largest lobby group, Big Pharma, look at the vaccine. Now there's more people that are testing positive that are vaccinated than unvaccinated. Now there's 2 to 3 year olds having seizures all the time when they were healthy and didn't need vaccination. So here we are. Ned's a mandatory vaccination advocate, which is absolutely insane when it compromises your immune system. And then look at 5G. All the same symptoms of the vaccine and COVID relief are the same ones that we're finding out from 5G is affecting your immune system, affecting your heart, causing heart cancer, causing liver problems, causing all types of eye problems. And then to get back to this whole Medicare, Medicaid fraud system, bankrupting the country. Did you know that the government borrowed $92 trillion from Social Security for Medicare and Medicaid? Did you know that? That's a loan they never intend to repay. So here we go. The people who worked in the United States for the last 60 years and paid into a system, they're about to be defunct in 2024, out of business. Social Security, done. There's no Band-Aid when you can't cauterize this wound. So, Adam, why don't you get back onto your points? Talk about the issues of the patient, okay, which I think Connecticut and New Hampshire just abandons the patient. Go ahead.
I agree that the patients, they're left up to the discrepancy of the agencies. So don't get me wrong, all people are fallible. So when it comes to actual structure and the ideal of caring for those that are impaired and need assistance, there's lots of good people out there and there's good structures. The way that structure has been capitalized on by specific people that have the education where they know how to use misinformation to manipulate people to believe that they're being helped when they're not being helped. And that's very common with the vulnerable citizens, being children, being elderly, being disabled. They're targeted by these agencies, by the groups of people as educated predators. It's a matter of tax fraud, but they're stealing in plain sight while convincing everybody that they're there to help. It's that kind of medical corruption right now that is destroying our nation.
Well, you don't sound like you have TBI.
I know, because I'm an anomaly.
Because you have a memory issue, not a thought process issue, huh?
That's right. It was a real bad thought process issue for the first 2 years where I didn't know my left side didn't work. The brain injury was so severe that I was stuck in a wheelchair use of one hand, unable to remember the day before or even comprehend that I was disabled. So with me in that condition, that's how the agency, Monadnock Developmental Services, targeted my impairment. I was a successful renovator when injured. I was injured at my own company. And so they targeted the insurance settlement money, my liquidation of all my construction equipment, and my properties. They did this all through my signature by getting the court to believe that I was giving everything.
It was a conservatorship? Did they assign a conservator?
A what?
A conservator? They appointed a conservator to handle your assets?
No, they literally gave me nothing. They gave me no legal representation. They wheeled me into a court still in my wheelchair while hospitalized, no memory of it. And Judge Quigley of the probate court of Nashua ruled me as my own guardian with no neurological evaluation 4 months after having a plexiglass plate.
Your own guardian when you had a traumatic brain injury.
What's that?
He said you were your own guardian when you had a traumatic brain injury?
Yeah, it was 7 years ago. I was a rock went through the windshield. You could see it on WMUR. They had covered it. I was airlifted to UMass Medical in Worcester. Life-saving surgery. They didn't think I'd survive. I did. And immediately following that, I was brought to Southern New Hampshire, put into the Crotchet Mountain Hospital in Greenfield, and then declared as my own guardian while still in the hospital, clueless that I was even injured, with no neurological evaluation. And then as my own guardian, released from the hospital, targeted by the agency Monadnock Developmental Services to get my property, insurance settlement, and all my business equipment with my signature.
And this is what they're...
not held criminally liable because by law, I was my own guardian signing things, so I was agreeing to it, and that's how they did it.
They handed you a pen, told you to sign, and you did.
And took everything, and then they prevented any kind of... I should be 100% physically recovered, and the reason I'm not is because there was no therapy. I was left in a wheelchair, use of one hand, for 5 years in a home. I don't even know how I survived.
Wow.
It's an incredible story.
It is incredible because think about it. This is what they're doing to children when they take away their parental rights. You know, in other words, in another fashion, right? Right now, people are all up and about in the right to life movement, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, a 12-year-old from New Hampshire can come to Connecticut, get an abortion without parental rights, without your parent signing. A 12-year-old. And they think that's okay. But what about the parent that cares about the kid and given the circumstance, and the circumstance can have a lot to do with it, why would they force so many children into DCF and set up a panel where every single case that comes to the table, they dismiss? They dismiss. You're denied. There's no oversight. You're denied discovery. You're just... Tim, the guy who's on the call, you know, who just left, he had a daughter stolen from him, okay? Given to she's living in a crack den, okay? With addicts. He hasn't seen her since, I think, 1.5 years now, but he knows she's suffering. Now, Tim has 4 boys he still has custody of, but they took the girl and he hasn't seen her. He hasn't gotten her report card. He can't go and visit her at the school. They will not set up an appointment for him to see her. And she's told people that she's not safe where she's at. Tim suspects that some of these drug dealers are molesting his own daughter, and there's nothing he can do about it. And by the way, he's FOIA'd all the police reports. This is just another kind of misconduct in another fashion state run where, you know, Adam here is saying, gee, his case was mishandled because they could.
That's right.
And there seems to be, like Whiting Forensic Hospital, 40 people out of 200 doing something wrong, knowingly being videotaped and knowing that no one will turn them in, knowing that no whistleblower case will go forward. And there's a case of a whistleblower from Whiting that, right after he testified what happened to him, he was found dead, overdosed. I mean, of course. So what's really remarkable is the amount of defections from some of these institutions and their immediate employment at Yale New Haven Hospital. Really? Like they're all working together, taking a bullet for the team, for this joint goal, this globalization leftist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's insane.
It is insane. So I want to thank you. We're at 21 minutes. Maybe we should keep it short, but why don't you make a conclusion and make a plea? Let me first say my website, Flynn2022USSenate.com. We are helping a lot of people with mortgage fraud, all types of cases, folks. People are losing their homes with no mortgage. We interviewed our 60th person. We just prevented our second mortgage foreclosure last week for a lady named Nino, and she has no mortgage. How can they take her home, load all her belongings on a truck, and auction them off? Not on my watch, folks. How can we sit there and hear stories like Adams? He's right here on the phone. He's very vocal about what's happening to him. However, he's silenced by the media, silenced by social media. And getting the word out is important. We're on a platform where they won't take us down, okay? But keep in mind, my YouTube page was taken down. Adam, did you have a YouTube page taken down?
Not YouTube, but I did have a website I had made called foodfromscratch.com that was taken. My Google Mail was wiped out, and then all my videos that mention Monadnock Developmental Services get removed from Facebook. They get blocked, unavailable.
Right. So how many victims do you think do they create a year? It's probably in the thousands, right?
Probably is. I've done a little bit of research on traumatic brain injury, and just those types of people specifically, there's 26 million of us in the U.S., and you got a couple thousand a year in New Hampshire, where New Hampshire was marketing that they were all about disabled people, developmental disorders, about helping, and they were marketing this while drawing attention for funding to care for clients, and then they develop these agencies that don't provide care, only push paperwork to say that they are doing things properly. Well, no one knows when you've got a brain injury what's going on. Unless you get a degree in neuroscience, you're clueless. So these agencies just do that.
Well, listen to this. I mean, this Whiting Forensic Hospital has a kid who was framed for 2 rapes when he was 18. He's done 18 years in jail, and they're hanging on to him. He's got TBI, okay? He's incapable. He's not interested in, he's a harmless adolescent, basically. And the fact remains, he was at a daycare facility where the people shook them down for mishandling. Oh, wait, I have a, hold on a second. Someone just called who is also a whistleblower. I'd like to get her on for 10 seconds if it's okay with you. Oh, I'm on with Tim. Let me shut him down. I'm shutting you down on the phone. Sorry. And this is a Whiting employee, folks. Like I'm saying, she's the pharmacist. Let's see if she answers. She just called me and then shut off her phone. She might know that we're live, and she may not want to be on personally. That's what's going on here. They are threatening her. So here we go. We have a whistleblower from a mental institution. That's the pharmacist, okay, who knows how the drugs are handled. She says every patient that gets a drug is assigned a different bed than the prescription is logged to. That's why they make mistakes, she says. People end up getting 10 medications a day, and there's mix-ups all the time. Now think about this. The whistleblower who got $9 million, who I mentioned in the article today in the current, was given 2 erectile dysfunction drugs. It's Cialis and what's the most famous one? I forget. So when he got out on leave, he hooked up with some girlfriend, got caught with her at his apartment, which was against his probation, and they threw him back in jail. Now, why would a pharmacist doctor prescribe Cialis to a patient who has stage 4 prostate cancer? Does that make any sense at all? Probably not. So he has erectile dysfunction, okay? He's not allowed to be with a woman at his house. He goes out on leave. They give him a prescription for Cialis, which he used. Then they caught him with the girl and threw him back in jail forever. He'll never get out now. Okay, so is that a manipulation of the system? He's such a huge profit center for them, that they want him back. I get no satisfaction from hearing these stories every day that I'm getting a lot of whistleblowers calling. And thank you, Adam, thank you for telling your story, because the fact that you're high functioning, okay? You there? Are you there? I think I lost him. Well, maybe I should just say goodbye. And let's thank Adam and the Tyrant Slayer and everyone involved, because these are important moments that we're capturing, and we're talking about issues. If you have an issue you need to talk about and you want someone to get involved who is running for state senate and thinks he can fix the system, there's quite a few people out there to replace every Congress critter in New England. And we need to replace every single congressman in New England. Every single senator in New England needs to go. So please go to my website right there, flynn22ussenate.com. It's right on the screen. Print the form if you're from Connecticut. Get me some signatures. I need them this month. I need 7,000 more. That's a lot of signatures, folks. And let me end the stream by saying that the deck is stacked against us in Connecticut and New England, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine. And if you look at New England, it's responsible for a lot of the atrocities occurring across the entire United States with the legislation that Connecticut writes. For example, partial birth abortion is legal in Connecticut. I had an argument at the beach yesterday. I asked a woman for a signature. She says, "What's your stance on abortion?" I said, "I'm pro-life." She says, "What are you going to do to change abortion laws?" I said, "I don't think you should get an abortion in the 3rd trimester, period." She's like, "I don't agree with you." I said, "Did you know partial birth abortion is legal in Connecticut?" She said, "No." I said, "Have you ever seen a video where they pull the baby's arms and jaw out? Have you seen them crush the baby's head and pull the baby out when it's 7, 8 months old?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, when you see that video, you might agree that it's inhumane for 3rd trimester partial birth abortion. It's absolutely insane. And these people are demons." Thank you very much, folks. I'm pro-life. I'm Catholic. I'm a lot of things. I'm an advocate for disabled. They're being mistreated. I know lots of people with MS. I have a very good friend who's blind. She's a state disabled advocate. The nightmares I am hearing about should cause everyone alarm. Thanks again.